Okay, you're ready.
I think so. Ready to go.
Okay, so this is the SP8 light sheets. Is everyone familiar with the principle of light sheet?
We came here to learn.
Tell us.
Alright.
Tell us.
It's magic.
Well, we do have a question. Can we try our own slides at the end?
Well, you don't use slides with light sheet.
Okay.
You use
A dish?
a dish with a sample mounted in a certain way. If you have it prepped, you can do that. But if not, that's fine too. So the way that light sheet works typically is you have, let's say, a sample, and then you have two objectives, and they're held like perpendicular to the sample. So you have one objective that's your detection objective, and so it's going to view whatever's being excited, and then you have a perpendicular excitation objective. And so this objective is forming a plane of light. So light sheet is universally called SPIN, or selective plane illumination microscopy. So instead of, like with wide field, you're viewing this field of view and you excite basically everything at once. You take a picture. With confocal, you're exciting, like with a point scanning confocal, a little spot, and you raster scan across. So you're exciting very little at one time, but confocal is slow. With spin, you basically excite the entire field of view. Your sample's in this area like this, so you excite the entire XY plane at once, and then you take a picture of it with a camera. And so your frame rates are dependent upon your camera exposure time. So the frame rates can be really, really high, because if you can get everything excited and bright enough to have a low camera exposure time, like less than 50 milliseconds, then your frame rate's going to be really high, much, much higher than confocal. But the benefit versus wide field, they both have similar frame rates. So like by itself, thanks for just speed of acquisition, is light sheets is less phototoxic because you're only exciting what you're imaging. So that's why it's great for light cell things, because you're not exciting everything above and below the focal plane. That's typically how it's done. It's got more complex, so you can have like you can have like 4 objectives in this like quad module, and you can excite from different directions, and view is really complicated. This light sheet is it's a vertical light sheet, and so basically the light sheet part is just the transmitted light arm, and it bolts on to any inverted SP8 confocal. So this is just a SP8 inverted confocal. Bigger confocals, so it's pretty similar. All the lasers are over here in this box. And so the way it works is we use the normal objectives kind of on the stand. We put really low magnification objectives so we can kind of excite the sample. We use the XY scan mirrors in the confocal, and we use the lasers that came with the confocal. You can add the lasers.
Watching it. Is the excitation objective that have to pair with the
detection objective.
Detection objective.
Yes. Yeah.
But
so
you have only one looks at the top.
this is your detection objective.
Oh, okay.
The excitation is on the stand, so it's a vertical light sheet.
Okay, so you have only one detector.
One detection objective, yeah.
Okay, so how do you pair with the excitation?
What do you mean?
My question is because for regular microscopy, you have numerical apertures defined for a particular objective, right?
Right, so the resolution of your image is dependent upon the detection objective. So there's a 5, a 10, and a 25x detection objective, and they each have their own numerical aperture.
Okay, so it can change, I guess.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, so the way it works is your sample is going to be something like this, so a 35 millimeter dish, and then the sample has to be kind of arrayed in like a line. And so you can kind of flood the whole chamber with agarose and put a sample in the middle, and embed the whole thing in agarose. So you kind of have an agarose pancake with a sample kind of in the middle, and you can cut away the agarose to kind of form this shape. So because what you need to have happen is the way we form that plane is with mirrors. So we have 3 different mirror caps, and so these thread onto one of the 3 detection objectives, which are threaded. So this is the 5x objective, and so the cap is threaded, which is not normal. And so then this will thread onto it. Like this.
Okay, then you dump it into the
yes.
agar.
So you dip this into your sample medium, typically water. The sample will be embedded in agarose typically, and then water is flooding the chamber. Your sample fits between these mirrors, and then what we do is we shine the excitation laser through the illumination objective on the stand. It comes up, it hits this mirror, and then it bounces across. And we use the XY scan mirrors to raster scan that laser across that mirror housing really rapidly. And so you form a virtual light sheet. So the frame rate at which it's raster scanned across the object is much faster than your exposure settings. And so what the camera sees is a whole plane of illumination. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So that's why it's able to be done on like a vertical inverted stand like this. If you don't need a separate kind of perpendicular objective setup. So those 3 objectives, 5, 10.